talked about a common theme of Tarantino movies being extreme violence. And I think even with Tarantino setting, excuse me, with his movies being just terribly violent, I think it was a little extreme. I really do. The Mandingo scene where he's breaking the arms and that thing, it's just, just as a, I don't know, it just really like elicits like a basic human response of, God, that's terrible, that's horrible. When the man being pulled apart by the dogs, it just elicits something in you. And even with, and I think the thing that Tarantino did, like I've seen Kill Bills, he really in this movie like emphasized like with those particular fights, it was like this ongoing thing. Like in Kill Bill, the bride's like, oh, the head's gone and you're kind of done with that. But it was just kind of just like that, like a reinforcement that it not only told a lie, it just pushed people over. I thought it was a little too extreme. And I understand the dynamic that's going on as far as violence. I still think it was too extreme.
I actually appreciated that scene, and even though I don't think that because he made this movie, it makes him responsible for getting the accuracy of our history, but the fact that it was there, I think I really appreciated that because one, yes, it was very horrific, and yes, it was something that made you cringe, but we needed that because, believe it or not, that part was true. That is exactly how we was considered. We was looked at as dog food. That is exactly how we were thought of. They did not care less about how we felt. And there were times we were on the ship. How would you like it if someone said, oh, no, I don't like it, I don't have room for you in my car, so let me go over to I-20 and throw you off in the Savannah River. But they did that to us on the boat. So even though I don't think he was responsible for getting the accuracy, I appreciated it because it made us think. And I think if we had more scenes like that, us as African-American people, whatever, it will allow us to keep that some type of integrity of what it is that we went through, and that line between of who we are and what it is we went through and the pain that our culture has experienced, that line will fade. So I appreciated that scene very much so because it brought to a lot of people attention. And basically being raised as a 90s baby, and in 2013 we forget that. And we can't even understand it because we're not from that time. So to see something like that and to say, okay, yeah, that scene was real and that's how it was, it lights something up in you. And I think we need it.
Anybody else?
I think that the violence in the movie, and this is going to sound crazy, but I think it was appropriate, honestly. And the reason I say that is that it served multiple purposes, as far as I could tell. There was another scene that you didn't show later on where there's like this big gunfight, and there's like blood everywhere, like literally everywhere in the movie. And it was funny, I was sitting in the theater, don't think I'm sick or twisted or anything like that. I started laughing. Okay?
You're sick.
No, this is what I realized he was doing.
I did too.
You did? Okay. What he was doing was he was trying to take the violence to a saturation point. And by reaching that saturation point, I think what he was trying to achieve is, okay, you shock easily, you're disturbed easily, let's see exactly how disturbed you can get. And I think once it got to a certain point where he was expecting the viewer to experience was this feeling of, there's something else beyond this, because this can't be, the violence can't be the point of this. It can't be, I shouldn't be focusing on this. And when you get past the violence in the movie, there's so much that violence actually contributes. For instance, the scene with the Mandingo warriors and whatnot, they're fighting. As I watched this movie, I started realizing it's not a movie about slavery. It's really a movie about what's going on with African Americans in 2013. It's really a very modern movie. The Mandingo warriors, for instance, represent how blacks are treated in the industry. We're constantly pitted against each other. We're constantly fighting each other for these little breadcrumbs that the industry gives us. And when we think that we're coming up, if you continue to watch that scene, what you would have seen is that I believe the guy that Leonardo DiCaprio plays offers the guy like a beer or something like that once he wins the fight. And meanwhile, these other guys behind the table are exchanging big money. And I think Karlton Tarantino had that extreme violence to say, look, this is terrible. What is being done to African Americans right now is that you have all these athletes and all these entertainers who are, fighting each other and beefing with each other and contending with each other for breadcrumbs while somebody's behind the table making all this extra money. And I'm going to use this violence to accent how terrible this is. And then also, one more thing and I'll be done. I'm talking a little bit much. But once you get past the violence, what you start to see is that and this is gonna sound bad too, but the violence is not a big deal. Think about how many cowboy movies you've seen growing up where you see people get shot, and you might see a little bullet hole or something like that, they fall down, stop moving. That's not really how it goes when people really get shot. So on one hand, he's trying to saturate you with violence so that you get desensitized to it, but on the other hand, he's trying to let you know that when you watch these Wild West movies, that's not a real depiction of what really goes on. So I think it's really necessary that he had that violence because it serves multiple purposes.
Yeah. Saturation point is a good word. How many of you all, and this is the panel and the audience, remember the Erykah Badu video, track Window Seat?
Oh yeah.
Y'all, oh yeah. that says a mouthful. Erykah Badu, the picture she was trying to, the idea that she was trying to convey was she was opposing groupthink. She was opposing, you know, everybody thinking the same way, and not only thinking the same way, but impressing their thoughts and their views on other people. So Erykah Badu is, of course, an artist, and she's trying to convey this art. Nobody remembers that. The only thing people remember about that video is, oh yeah, Erykah Badu walking down the street naked, a curvaceous Erykah Badu walking down the street naked. The question has to be asked, when does extremism, when do extreme actions, thoughts, and views trump art? In the Erykah Badu video, nudity trumped art. In Django Unchained, extreme violence trumped the art. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know what brother said down there.
Yeah, that's true. Window seat, yeah. Just keeping it real, but you know, I mean that's 2000. That's the 2000. That's the generation. Sex sales. You know, that's what catches the young crowd out. And as far as the violence part goes, I laughed at it too, but it needed to be shown. And the reason for that is because today, we complain about a lot. We got guys over there fighting, you know what I'm saying, just to get like maybe an hour or two of free, fighting their own kinfolk, breaking backs, breaking arms. We sit here and we complain about not getting ketchup on our burger. You know, we complain about our job. Yeah, I complain about my job every day. I'd rather be toting the camera than wrestling one of my partners saying that he's about to die because I got to kill him. So, you know, that was kind of a wake-up call to society. But at the same time, you know, it is what it is.
Brandon.
I was just going to say that I agree with Ken with the extremism trumping art because it made me think about a soap opera. Everybody's seen a soap opera, right? And we know that at the end of the story or whatever, they're trying to get you to get the point that, oh, he's cheating on her and she needs to do this, this, and that. But because it's so traumatized, like it's just so, oh my gosh, please don't go, and oh, I'll never leave you. It's like, you can hear the music playing in your head, like it's corny, it's cheesy. And that's how I felt watching it. I was like, I can't even get to the point of understanding the art. I can't even get whatever point he's trying to get because I just feel like this is overdone. And because it's overdone, I don't even want to digest any other ideas he has to pose. Because I feel like at this point, I feel like, well, you don't even understand the art of writing, let alone producing or directing a movie because you got all this extra crap. Because I can't even get to what's there. That's how I felt. I felt like extremism trumped the art.
Sorry.
Well, what I wanted to say, especially I know about the fighting scene, that one in particular, illegal fighting or whatever. I mean, for that particular scene, I thought the violence was okay. I mean, I wouldn't think that would be any different than if we were watching a movie about Rome and the Colosseum and how they were fighting there. I mean, we have UFC fights that are going on now, you know, people in cages. So for that particular scene, I thought it was realistic and I didn't have a problem with the violence there.
Shani, you want to ask this question?
Yeah, I wanted to say something about the comparison to the Erykah Badu scene. And I was working at the radio station. I actually had the pleasure of sitting and during an interview with Erykah Badu when she released that video. And what she said was, they asked her, why would you take your clothes off for the video? She said it was the only way I could be heard because I had something to say. And her crew actually did not know that she was going to take her clothes off. And the reason she did it, yes, because just like Xavier said, we are in 2013. You have to move along with the times and grasp the attention. As sad as it is, it does sell. And she figured, okay, it may not be, people may not agree upon this, but if I have wanted to conjure up. And also, if you pay attention to the end of the video, she was shot. And that represented her trying to be free from society and all of the unnecessary drama and the unnecessary complaints that we're having about situations like this. She's getting shot in the midst of it because too many people are worried about her. And yes, he did have good scenes and they did do whatever it is, but you don't put a boundary on art. That's what art is. You don't tell anyone what's too extreme because that actually defeats the purpose. It's about expression of self. It's about expression of who you are and how you're feeling at that time. If you can't get it out in art, how else are you going to get it out? Then you're going to have 10 times the madness we already have in this world today.
We do.
Oh,
I agree with her point. I just want to say, like, in not punching, counter-punching so much, I think the difference between Miss Badu and Mr. Tarantino is Miss Badu is willing to put her neck on the line to, I'm hesitant to use the word sell out, but she's willing to, put her body on the line. All I see Mr. Tarantino doing is putting everybody else in the line of fire, you know what I'm saying? So that's another issue I have with it, but I can definitely identify what you're saying.
Anybody in the audience want to respond to what has been said on this panel? Yes, sir.
Actually, can you kind of clarify a little bit more with how you're pushing other people in the front lines?
Saying, when we talked about like Miss Badu, we're saying, I'm saying that she was willing to, how do I want to say this? Take on that controversy. Put herself in a position where, I'm trying to just put it all the way out. Erykah Badu basically called those shots. Like she was the person who did the extreme, took part in those extreme acts. Quentin Tarantino, a lot of times I feel like he hides behind black actors, and he hides behind, like, Jamie Foxx, he's hiding behind Samuel L. Jackson, he's hiding behind Kerry Washington. Whereas with Miss Badu, it's a different dynamic because not only is she the director, but she's the actress, you know what I'm saying? So it's just a different thing, and I feel like, I am going to use the word, now I'm going to use the word sellout. The key thing is Erykah was willing to sell herself out. Mr. Tarantino is not willing to sell himself out. He's willing to put Jamie Foxx out there where he can be called a sellout. Because the idea is, okay, Erykah Badu, did she sell out, so she wants to get this idea across. Was she willing to sell out and take her clothes off? That's how some people saw it. Whereas with Mr. Tarantino, is he selling out, or like who we're going to call a sellout is? Quentin Tarantino's doing what Mr. Tarantino's always done. But Jamie Foxx is like, Jamie Foxx in this slave film. Cat Williams got on bad about that. A lot of actors have gotten bad. Spike Lee has gotten bad about it because of these things. So it's, basically, to me, it's like an issue of like who's in the line of fire. So.
All right. Well, speaking of Quentin Tarantino. Oh, I'm sorry, Kim. My bad. Sorry, come this guy. I apologize. Okay, go ahead.
I think I have to disagree with you about him being a sellout because I think he is a producer and a director and a writer.
You're saying Jamie Foxx?
No, Tarantino.
Okay.
He's in his role. He knows his lane. He's not the actor. He's not quote unquote the artist. So I can't necessarily agree that he's a sellout because
No, I'm not saying he's a sellout. I'm saying Jamie Foxx is a sellout. I
can't agree that he's hiding behind people. I feel like he's in his role, and he uses other people to be in their lane, in their vein, in their role. Maybe that's something that he doesn't want to venture into, but he feels like I'm a good writer. I can bring pizzazz to the film, but I need somebody to make it come alive, and I can't do it the way they can.
Just a man over here.
And I actually just came to listen today, but I just want to throw this out there, and it really was pretty much what you were speaking to, and I was just want to expand it a little because I think we do have a responsibility when you take an issue as serious as slavery and want to throw it into art, that you do have responsibility to have some type of depiction of accuracy in a sense because the effect it has right now. Look at us here talking about a movie when we can't go out and have a panel and mobilize education or the juvenile system and how it's institutionalized. But what I wanted to give an example to that, to build on what this young man was saying on the end, to expand it a little further, Quinn in his art and hiding behind someone. But we take the example of Dexter King. There are all type of movies about Dr. King. And there was one particular famous director, I won't go into his name or anything like that, that really wanted to do a movie similar to, kind of like Quentin Tarantino. He wanted to hype up the piece about Dr. King and having his extramarital affairs, and then also the Vietnam War. And Dexter did everything he could, and you can read his book to get more information about it, but he did everything he could to say, hey, that's not my father's story. If you're gonna tell it, I wanna be sure that you tell it right. You tell it as African, and we as African Americans, it is part of our responsibility to make sure that people that wanna take on an issue and throw it into an art that serious, we do have a responsibility to mobilize behind something and make sure if you do it, you gotta at least do it right.
Quentin Tarantino never said that it was based on a true story. And there's one thing that artists do follow. There's a quote, I don't know the artist's name, the author's name, but he says, an artist needs only to please himself. As an African American, yes, but we're also human beings, and we have responsibility to ourselves first. You cannot be responsible for what we have as generations. You cannot say that as an artist, I'm responsible for the way someone else is going to feel. As an artist, you can't restrict yourself in anything, or you're depriving yourself. That's all right.
I just want to say something, just because everybody's talking about art and being realistic. Because this is one thing actually that 50 Cent said. But when he did an interview with Oprah, and this is very real because I was like, yeah, he's serious about that. Because people take an actor, this is your art, I'm playing a role or whatever. Like you said, this is your art, whatever. So people don't hold you responsible. People are not gonna, in a certain sense, people understand that you're playing a role, but we don't do the same thing for other art. If it's a rapper, we go after Nelly because he's swiping the card down somebody's booty. I mean, we go after him and we don't say, oh, that's his art, that's not Nelly. We put it all together. We say that's who he is. So if we're gonna hold one segment responsible for their art, we need to do the same for everybody. It has to be across the board.
Oh, I absolutely agree. And as a matter of fact, there's a situation that is definitely recent. I'll give you an example. There's the Emmett Till family is trying to boycott Future and Lil Wayne's song Karate Chop, and they're saying that it should not reference. If you listen to the song, you'll basically figure out why. I absolutely agree with that. And I think more people should honestly and just understand that it is being art. I absolutely agree with you 100%. I think all artists are being artists, and I honestly think that we pay too much attention and we put too much focus in criticizing somebody that has explicit language in their rap or something like the Django movie, when we have basically undercover racism that still exists today in the workplace. If you're going to speak out about something, we need to speak out about that and leave this man alone who's doing his art at whatever responsibility that he wants to do with it.
I agree with the whole, I just think this is just too much about the whole Django thing. I agree with it. It's art, I think if we're gonna mobilize put this much energy into a movie, let's put this much energy into something that's gonna move us forward.
Yeah.
But what I really wanna say is, about the whole art thing is, the reality is my nieces and nephews, they don't watch documentaries. They watch that and that's the story that they see as real.
They have parents.
But unfortunately, that's not the reality the parents are going to always teach them.
Well, because that's the reality we need to change. Instead of putting the responsibility on someone else that has whatever spoken, because they took their opportunity. We have the same 24 hours as they. We cannot, and that's the problem with society now. We are hiding behind these idols and these role models. They are human beings. They are being true to themselves. They are doing what they want to do, and we as parents need to step up. Instead of saying that's the reality, yes, that is the reality, let's change it the way it needs to be changed and stop pinning it on these people.
And to add to that,